Thanks. Sustainability Advisory Board. I think we're going to go ahead and start the meeting. It looks like we have a quorum. And the first item on our agenda are our housekeeping items. Kathy, would you remind us of those, please?
This is Kathy Richardson, Sustainability Director. Good evening, everyone. I just would like to share a few housekeeping items for tonight's Zoom meeting. The meeting is being recorded and broadcast on the city's YouTube channel and cable channel 25. Please remember to unmute yourself during the meeting. Please remember to mute yourself during the meeting when you're not speaking. And the chat function for this public meeting is disabled. All chats will go directly to me. All board members, please keep your video on, and all others, keep your video off unless you are participating during the meeting. If you have any trouble, you can send me a chat. The city reserves the right to mute people or turn individual videos off to minimize distractions during the meeting. And just a reminder, there is another board meeting tonight, so this meeting will need to wrap up around 7:15 p.m. And now I'll turn it back to you, Stan.
All right, thank you, Kathy. Next item on our agenda is the Kansas Open Meetings Act. This is a meeting subject to that act, and I just want to thank everybody for complying with those requirements and not replying all on our emails, things like that. Sending emails to everybody. I think we're doing a good job recently on staying in compliance with the Open Meetings Act, and we'll just keep this on our agenda as a reminder for folks, but I just wanted to compliment everybody. We're doing a good job with that. So thank you with that. First item on our agenda is to approve the agenda. It's laid out here. If I could have a motion to do that, I would appreciate that. All right, Nancy moves to approve the agenda.
Ben Sykes, second.
Ben seconds. All those in favor of approving our agenda tonight, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Agenda's approved. Next thing we're going to do is the minutes. And I would ask if everybody's had a chance to review those minutes. I thought they did a good job capturing our meeting. And we need a motion to approve those, or we need edits if people have edits.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as is.
All right, Nancy moves to approve. It looks like Maddie, you wanted to second them?
Yeah, Maddie Bell, SAB member. I second.
Maddie's seconding the minutes. All those in favor of approving the minutes, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Same sign. All right, no opposed, no opposition. All right, the next item on the agenda is staff items, but before we get to that, I think we have a couple of things we want to address. The first one is I wanted to give Maddie a few minutes to say a few words to us. Maddie, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Stan. Yeah, so unfortunately, I'm going to be stepping down from the board. I wish I could be there in person tonight, but I have another meeting 15 minutes after this one ends. So probably couldn't make it home in time for that Zoom call, but I've really enjoyed working with y'all, and I wish that I could be around for what this next year is going to look like, because it seems pretty exciting. But thanks for working with me, and it's been an honor serving Lawrence.
We'll miss you.
Second.
Truly.
I agree.
Yes, Sad.
Maddie, we really appreciated your participation, and we're going to miss you and miss your input. I think you bring a good input and perspective to our group, and not just my old man perspective. So I really appreciate have your time on the board, and I hope our paths cross again here in Lawrence or wherever we are. So I want to thank you for your service here.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, we also have to announce that just this afternoon, Deb Ford, in communication with Kathy and I, is going to resign as well. And she's having trouble making the meetings with her work demands right now, and she just doesn't feel right about that. She's, as you might be aware, she's missed several of our last meetings. They've not been unexcused absences, so she wasn't booted off the board, but she has had trouble making the meetings, and she doesn't feel right about that. So after some back and forth email with Kathy and I, she sent us an email just saying, you know, she's going to resign. So we just got that late this afternoon.
So do we have enough for a quorum?
We have just enough for a quorum. And so Kathy and I were talking about that. After tonight, it's going to be important for everybody to attend. And if we can't attend, to let us know, and perhaps we could reschedule a meeting to a different day where we could have everybody. It's also going to be important for Kathy then to maybe push City Hall to review the applications to serve on the board and get one or two people appointed. And so she's going to be doing that as well. But because there will only be 6 of us, and we just changed our bylaws to require 6 of us for a quorum instead of 5, we need to make sure that we're all in attendance. And if you can't be, please let us know. I will be attending the next 2 meetings via Zoom because I'll be out of town both times, but I can participate via Zoom. But just wanted everybody to be aware of that. Anything else I'm missing, Kathy, before we go into the
You covered it well.
staff items? I think we covered it. All right. Maddie, I'm glad you're here tonight. Thank you. And we're going to proceed with your last meeting, I guess. So the next item on our agenda are the staff items. Kathy.
Thank you. Okay, so for the staff items, I have a few items of updates, and then I know that some of these items are on your agenda. So I'm going to briefly cover some, just because I know the conversation is coming at a later time during the agenda. So the first staff update is on the Sustainable Capital Projects Policy. So we continue to work on that, and we met with the subcommittee of the Sustainability Advisory Board, the Climate Action Plan. And the one item of update is that it is no longer going to be on the March 21st City Commission agenda. So it has been postponed to April 11th. So just kind of mark that on your calendars. This is a staff item that, of course, we appreciate any support from the Sustainability Advisory Board on. And I know there will be a discussion there on a letter of support later tonight. So the second item for update is the single-use plastic bag ordinance. This is a Sustainability Advisory Board item that has also been directed to staff to work on. So we attached the draft of the ordinance to this agenda. I will say that there are some items on this ordinance, this draft ordinance, that might still be edited. So there's some discussion still going on the fees charged and so forth. But this is an item we also had a really good discussion with the SAB Subcommittee of the Climate Action Plan. And that is also coming up later on the agenda for discussion. As well, this item has also been delayed on the City Commission schedule. So it will no longer be March 21st. This one was looking at a later April date, but looks like there are some conflicts, and we absolutely want Nancy and Ben to be able to attend this meeting. So we're looking at the May calendar for City Commission agenda to be able to add it to one of those agendas. In the meantime, we are tracking the House Bill 2446, which I'm sure there's going to be some discussion on. But from the staff side of things, we are aware that there's a hearing on Wednesday, and the city is preparing written testimony similar to on the Senate side. So we will be submitting that here shortly. Just a quick update. We are still participating in the cohort of moving from idea to implementation, starting on the pathway to 100% clean energy. I had mentioned that in December, the City of Lawrence was selected for that cohort. And we've had 2 meetings so far. So every month we meet. It's myself and also Trevor Flynn, who is one of the assistant directors of the Municipal Services and Operations Department, who has been attending with me. And we are definitely gathering lots of great information. And, it's great to be able to talk to other communities that are in a similar place like Lawrence is with our renewable energy goals. The next item for update is Lead for Cities program. I had actually mentioned this to the subcommittee when we were meeting. The city was interested in and submitted an application to the Lead for Cities local government leadership program. So this leadership program would also then kind of combine to the next phase of certification for the city of Lawrence. And just for those who are not familiar, in the past, City of Lawrence went through the STAR community rating system for sustainability. And the City of Lawrence achieved a 4-star, so 4 out of 5 star. The STAR community rating system is no longer, available or in service. And the U.S. Green Building Council is who took over this sustainability rating system and sustainability framework through what they call Lead for Cities. So while the City of Lawrence is listed on their website already as a Lead for Cities, it's only that carryover from STAR. But communities that were STAR communities are still going through the process of getting certified through Lead for Cities. And more information to come, but we did submit an application. We did get some letters of support from APWA and the U.S. Urban Sustainability Directors Network and Climate Action KC, and Mark did too. And as of this afternoon, which is kind of an early announcement, I did receive a letter that the City of Lawrence was selected into the leadership program this year.
Great.
So we are excited for more work to come, but this is all headed in an awesome direction for tracking sustainability within our organization. A couple updates on grants. So this has been of interest to the Sustainability Advisory Board. We have been in conversation and working through the Department of Energy's EECBG. So that's the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Block Grants. So this is to assist states and units of local government and Indian tribes in implementing strategies to reduce fossil fuel emissions, reduce total energy use, and to improve energy efficiency. And under that, for those who have viewed that, there's a wide variety of activities that are eligible. So while the city of Lawrence is allocated, it's right below 150,000 is what the city of Lawrence has. We are, talking about what programs we would like to use the funds for, but we are also in in conversation with collaboration with the MARC area. So just this week, we met with cities and counties that are part of the Mid-America Regional Council. And, they extended the invitation to Douglas County and City of Lawrence to, think about what we could do if we pull the money together for a bigger regional project. So those conversations are ongoing as well. The pre-app paperwork is due on April 28th, but really we have until January 1st of 2024 to submit our full application as to how we're going to use those funds. The other one that we have been kind of researching and working through is the EPA's climate pollution reduction grants. That program has both planning and implementation grants. But the more we dive into the information, it looks like we're a little bit off the City of Lawrence, or what they call metro areas, from really being awarded the funds. So each state will receive $3 million if they opt in by March 31st. And then the largest 67 MSAs, so those metropolitan areas, will receive $1 million each. Just so you know where City of Lawrence lies, we're number 334. So they're saying if people don't opt into some of these funds, it will continue to go down the list. But we're pretty far down. We can potentially be covered by the state's plan. And, if the state of Kansas will opt in for their $3 million, then we can be part of that with our implementation grants.
Kathy, just to clarify, the state's portions are 3 million. I thought I heard billion at the beginning.
Million. No billion. No.
Okay.
Each state is 3 million, but they need to opt in. And then the largest 67 MSAs in the U.S. will each get 1 million,
okay,
but they have to opt in. Yeah. Thanks for that clarification.
Hey,
The other one we're looking at, yes, Kay.
Sorry, Kay Johnson, SAB member. Has the state given you any indication if they're going to try to opt in? What I've been hearing lately is several people are saying that they probably won't go for some energy funds, but I don't, because that's just what the conversation's been.
Yeah, we have not had direct conversation with the state. Their due date for opting in is before the metropolitan area's due date. And the EPA did say they will list out the states who opted in by that March 31st deadline that they have. And then the metropolitan areas have until April 28th to opt in. And they are encouraging metropolitan areas that are not within those 67 to go ahead and submit, again, with the potential that some of them will not opt in for the funds and it will trickle down. So we're looking into this, what possibilities there could be for us. And you've got to have the planning grant phase in order to qualify for those implementation grants, which is the larger pot of money that will be coming.
So Kathy, for the top 67 is based solely on population. They're not trying to distribute that by geographic area or anything like that. So for example, if the Midwest, many of the states or in the Southeast opt out, the only way the municipalities down there could get in is if they're already quite large.
Correct. Those 67 is by population.
Okay.
When I attended the webinar, and I don't know if any of you did as well, it sounded like they were also trying to figure out if a state does not opt into their 3 million, could those funds go to the largest metropolitan areas of that state? Mm-hmm. So they were talking about the potential of the top 3. Now, Lawrence is number 4 in Kansas. And it wouldn't be one of like these 67, but Kansas doesn't have one in the top 67.
Okay.
So there's there's still some more figuring out if there's potential there. If any of you hear anything, please let me know. Send me an email or call, and I'd be happy to chat about that more. The other grant that we are, that is a priority. Yeah.
Yep, sorry, this is Stan Rasmussen, SAB. Why would the state not want to opt in?
Okay, do you have any indication from your conversations?
The discussion that I've had is that, particularly for the energy part, there is no state energy plan to begin with. There is also very limited staff at the KCC. That one person that is supposed to be considered part of the Kansas Energy Office is under the KCC, and they're also staff to the KCC. And one group that I knew that was working on a grant application had talked to the KCC person, and it's not really that one person's fault necessarily, but they just don't feel like that they have enough bandwidth to help. So the group that was trying to get a grant in Kansas decided that they would try to get a grant because they operate in both Kansas and Missouri, that they would just go for a grant in Missouri. So it's unfortunate, but I really don't know if that's going to be the end result, obviously, but that was just discussed in a meeting last week when I was at the Capitol.
I guess that's something that we should be pushing the Clean Energy Business Council to take up and be championing.
Yes, and they're very mindful of that situation too. They were in the meeting that I was in.
Okay. Thanks, Kay.
Mm-hmm.
The other grant that is a priority to the city and the city commission, we still have not seen the full release of information, but that's the DOT charging and fueling infrastructure grant. So that's on the EV charging. So more details to come when we get all the information. Earth Day activities, there's an item on the agenda, so we can talk about it then. And we are still working on an e-waste electronic recycling event for this year. It's the MSO Environment Group that's working on it. So no details yet, but I will share as soon as we have got some details on dates. Thank you. Any questions?
Looks like Nancy has her hand raised.
So Kathy,
Nancy?
hi. So Kathy, are you aware of a second bill that's trying to block the regulation of single-use plastic bags? It's 2447, and it's in the same committee as 2446.
Is that the one on advanced recycling, Nancy?
No, this is one on it would prevent municipalities from restricting the use and sale of any item if it isn't regulated at the state level. And this is 2447, and it has a hearing on Monday morning.
So I think that bill, what they did, is my understanding, Nancy, is they split the original SB 47 into two parts, two bills. And so 2446 is the plastic bag bill. 2447, I believe, is the consumer products bill. And that was the Petco one.
Right, but
I guess I haven't looked at 2447 enough to know if it would also affect.
well, I've talked to several
I don't think that one's directed towards plastic bags.
Well, I've talked to several people who interpret it as also banning of plastic bags by municipalities.
Oh, it's super short. An act concerning cities and counties prohibiting the banning of products or services otherwise permitted under state law.
So
Yeah, I think this bill is more the Petco bill. It's kind of nicknamed. It's in response to the city of Wichita trying to get Petco or ban Petco from selling puppies, I think is what the issue was.
Right, but if you still couldn't ban plastic bags if that went through, because it's products or services. You couldn't ban a product or service if the state doesn't ban it.
It's
Right,
very
but the-
broad.
The bill language is a prohibition on municipalities from prohibiting businesses from selling products, not using. It's municipality shall not prohibit an individual, partnership, corporation, or other business entity licensed to operate within the municipality from selling any product or service that is otherwise permitted under state law.
Right, so you couldn't ban selling of plastic bags, for instance.
Sure.
So
But
what,
it wouldn't be like 2446 that prohibits municipalities from banning the use of plastic bags.
Well, for providing plastic bags, yeah. So
Correct.
yeah. So
So
to me, it's
unless-
important.
so unless the state authorizes the sale of something, this prevents municipalities from banning the sale of something. Is that right? Is that what you said?
Yes.
Correct.
So
It's so broad.
You might be right, Nancy. I hadn't
broad.
read it with your perspective.
Yeah, I didn't interpret it. It was several other people I've been talking to that interpreted it that way. I am kind of lost with this legal stuff. But so I know the Sierra Club lobbyist is going to go in and try to present testimony against it. I just didn't know if the city wanted to also do that.
I think the city should.
Yeah, I do too.
I appreciate the notice on HB 2247. And tomorrow I will reach out to our city attorney's office to discuss that one.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you.
You know, this is Stan Rasmussen, SAB member. Since we're talking about these bills on 2446, what I have heard is that the expectation is that it's already been scheduled for a hearing. I think the chamber, I just flat out asked the chamber lobbyist what they think is going to happen and was told that they think it will be moved out of committee and have a vote in the House. And they think it will be approved and will probably go to the Senate. I think that the chamber lobbyist is optimistic that 2446 is going to get passed. So we'll see if he's correct.
Sorry, Stan, but this is Ben Sykes, SAB board member. Has the chamber come out with a position on either of those bills or on the original Senate one?
The chamber was really the primary advocate on SB 47, and I think they're the ones driving 2446 and 2447. So
Ben,
but
that would be the
they are
Kansas
supportive.
chamber.
The Kansas
That-
chamber. That's
the
right.
Kansas
Kansas chamber, not the Lawrence chamber, the Kansas chamber.
Matt Bell, SAB member. I don't know if anyone else is having trouble hearing Ben, but it seems like maybe his microphone is off and we're just getting picked up. He's getting picked up on other people's microphones. Or maybe it's just an issue on my end.
How about this? Maddie, can
Oh,
you hear me now?
That's way better. Thanks.
I'll just talk like this.
Okay.
All right.
Don't be cruel. Sorry, that's not the.
Ben, you gotta be a rock star at the meeting here, so get up close.
I was just asking about chamber support. Thank you, Maddie, for noting that. I'll speak like this.
I'd just like to comment that when it was in the Senate, the similar bills had many people come in and testify against them. And I think that helped to prevent them from passing. At least that was the word I heard. So I think it behooves us to submit testimony if we believe that they should be opposed.
And then last meeting, we had talked about, I think there were House Bills 2226 and 2227. Is that right? No, 2227 and 2228. Two energy related bills. Neither one of those bills have moved out of committee, and the committee chair has asked interested parties to work together after this session or to bring those bills back again next session. And he's asked interested parties. I've been asked on behalf of the Department of Defense to work on one of those, the 2247 bill. No, 2227, excuse me, bill for DOD. But it sounds like both of them are going to be pretty much put on hold the rest of this session.
It would behoove us if we're interested in those. And I know that we're our company and myself, we're interested in seeing both of those bills get hearings and be passed in some fashion. So we know that we should probably be talking about those internally at least after the session, if they don't go forward, which I've also heard that they're not going to go forward until next year. So at least we should be well informed if we're going to make some comments. And I think it wouldn't be a bad idea for us to support positive language that would support PPA, which is a private purchase agreement for energy systems and raising the cap on net energy and capacity.
Yeah, and that is the bill that I'm interested in on behalf of the Department of Defense and in my professional job. And I'll be happy to share with this board what's going on in the discussions about that bill as I hear them, as I'm involved with them. I'm not representing DOD on 2228, as that one doesn't really have any impact on DOD. So I'm not going to be as keyed in on that one. Maybe you will be, Kay.
Maybe later on in the year when things get a little bit more settled, we could actually put these two on the agenda and have some good discussion with you, Stan, on the PPA, and maybe with Dorothy Barnett with climate and energy or whatever to discuss the net metering, because both of them for the state are important.
Yeah.
Amanda, do you have any role in that stuff? I mean, I know you personally have advocacy for it, but I'm just curious if.
Yeah. And I was at the Capitol with Kay last week as well. And then on those meetings, I provided a written statement on behalf of both of those bills. And it's something that I personally and our company are also following. So hopefully I will be able to contribute to that conversation as well and keep everybody informed.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah. And if anybody has questions now or wants to better understand them, let me know.
Well, we kind of strayed a little from our agenda order. I guess I would ask if we have any additional subcommittee updates. Either Nancy, we'll start with you. I know you're trying to get your schedule to work for the bag ordinance with City Commission. I don't know if there's anything else you want to cover at this point.
Well, a couple of things. We drafted a letter of support for the Sustainable Capital Projects Policy, and that was submitted, and we'd like to consider action on that from this committee. And then we made suggestions on the draft of the single-use plastic bag ordinance, and we'd like to have that also considered. So on the plastic bag ordinance, we added language that would require the paper and the thicker plastic bags to be 40% renewable in an effort to help to make that a little bit more circular, since just as you had brought up previously, Stan, if you just ban bags, then there's the possibility that bags will be used more often in the thicker version. So if you have those recyclable contents, at least it decreases virgin plastic use. So we would like you to take action on both of those things. And Kay, do you want to say anything about the letter of support, since you're the main person who drafted that?
I just appreciate the opportunity for us to vote positively to support sending this letter. If anybody has any questions, basically, the city has a sustainable capital projects policy that was attached, and they are looking at third-party verification for both capital projects for buildings as well as infrastructure. And that satisfied my biggest concern, is that these projects and certifications would be third-party verified. So I feel like that this is a really good step, and it also supports Ordinance 9744 for the energy goals, and it's also supports our key SAB priorities. So I just want to appreciate a vote in support of this letter going forward.
Well, this is Stan Rasmussen, SAB member. Maybe now would be a good time for everybody to look at that letter if you have not already done so, and we could take some public comment on it and then maybe proceed with action, because I think there's a general feeling that we'd like to get this letter approved. If we need to make edits in it, we can do that. But why don't we formally take a look at that? It's on page 6 of 10 in the agenda packet. I don't know if anybody has any comments or suggested edits.
I just might mention that and read the summary of the policy. The purpose of the policy is to incorporate sustainable practices into siting, design, construction, remodeling, repair, maintenance, operation, and deconstruction of city facilities and infrastructure. According to the policy statement, the citywide policy is expected to yield savings by efficiently managing energy, water, waste, and stormwater while improving the employee and visitor experience. So it was a good policy. And obviously, it also supports the City of Lawrence strategic plan goals, at least 3 of them. Those are listed in the letter.
Mm-hmm.
I think we need a comma between operation and the word "and." Otherwise, operation and deconstruction are linked together. They have to both occur.
I think I just... Oh, yeah, that's fine with me. I probably just missed it. I did copy word for word those words that are in italics, but I didn't put the comma in. Should have. So, yep, that's a good catch, Stan.
And then I'm assuming this draft is from my signature. It doesn't identify who would be signing it. It CCs the city manager, but I'm assuming that if we approve it tonight, I would sign it as the chair of the Sustainability Advisory Board. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
The chair would sign, and also for submittal of this letter, the idea is that this is submitted with the agenda item that will go to the city commission on April 11th. So it will go with the packet.
Perfect. Okay.
So I guess sorry, this has been Sykes, SAB board member. I'm totally in support of the projects policy. Given what city commission's been talking about with building tiny homes and some of the stuff that Mosen has sent out and thinking about equity and how we're doing things. I'm totally aware of mission creep, and I don't want to make aspects of that, but I would like your opinion potentially on, like, when we think about capital projects and making them sustainable, if there's ways to try and make sure that that helps everybody, or particularly given some of the city commission priorities, unmistakable identity and
meeting everyone's needs and things like that. I don't know if you have any opinions about that. Sorry to put you on the spot.
So are you talking to me then, Ben?
What's that?
Are you talking to me or Kathy?
I was trying to ask Mosen because
Or
he
Mosen.
sent out things about trying to make sure that the green building efforts that we're doing are equitable, right? That there's elements of that.
Yeah, I'm thinking when we come up with plans and support letters and infrastructure, also consider the broader impact it has on the community, and not just to improve how the city is performing with its projects, but also to consider those impacts. So that's the way I think I need to think more.
Okay. I mean, it's just, in the newspaper today, they're, city commission is discussing whatever it is, $1.54 million to try and, help and support people that don't have a home in our community. I don't know if that falls under a capital improvement project. If the city is spending that money, that's a significant investment. And I would be supportive of that. I just don't want to see what we're doing here, have unintended consequences for those kinds of things, or that's going to come to a head at city commission. Right.
That's I think a really good point. I don't know if Kathy has any comment on that or has thought about that, but if we put in these pallet homes that the city is talking about purchasing and putting out there, do they need to meet this standard? Would that be considered a capital project?
So it's really in the details of the policy. If you look at the policy, when it talks about new city facilities for the LEED Gold level, it's got to be a facility that is over 10,000 square feet of occupied space. So there's kind of some project type breakdowns. Now, when it comes to, and this question has come about as well. Well, what if a city facility is less than 10,000 square feet? Is there just no conversation about sustainability? No, there is going to be. It's just the third party verification, as Kay mentioned, really happens at this level. And this threshold is really what we looked at other communities that have similar policies, right? So the breakdown on new buildings or new facilities would be that 10,000 square feet where it makes sense to spend the extra funds or whatever to do that certification for LEED Gold. And then the major renovations, I know you're not talking about major renovations in that scenario, but on here, it talks about, the exception is minor renovations as defined as renovations wherein the total cost of construction related to the building envelope or the technical building systems is lower than 25% of the value of the building, excluding the value of the land upon which the building is situated. Infrastructure also has some level of details there on kind of dollars spent for the project. So these are all CIP items. That would be the distinction between what you're asking about with the pallet homes or versus an actual city facility of this size.
Great. Okay, good answer.
Thanks, Kathy.
So do we have any more board discussion on the letter at this point, the draft letter? I'm not seeing any. I would ask if we have any public comment on it. Since we're taking action on it, I would like to see if we have any public comment on this draft letter of support. I'm not seeing anybody raise their hands. We have two people in the audience here and they're not raising their hand. So with that, I guess I would ask if somebody would like to move to approve this. And
Maddie, did you have a comment? Oh, okay.
No, I mistook Stan saying 2 people as on Zoom because we have 3 people on Zoom, but I realized I can't see the audience at City Hall.
Okay.
I'd be glad to put forth a motion to approve the draft letter with the suggested improvement by adding the comma in that particular spot, and would have Kathy add Stan's name in the after sincerely.
yeah.
I'll
Name and
second
title.
the motion.
Looked like Nancy seconded.
Nancy?
And I do want to say thank you for the city for doing this, because I really do feel strongly about what they're attempting.
Agreed. I'm proud of the fact that, I'll just interject here, that the Army, the entity that pays my salary, has a standard that all of their construction projects have to meet LEED Gold standard as a minimum. And, it's just, I'm kind of proud of that. So I think this is something that we can all be proud of if this is approved by the city commission. So hopefully it will be, and hopefully our letter will help encourage that.
Yeah, in reality, it's an investment for buildings going and infrastructure going forward, because this will pay dividends long after the construction of the buildings.
All right. With that, I would ask all those in favor of approving the draft letter for to be submitted to the city commission, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? All right. I will coordinate with you, Kathy, on actually getting my signature on the letter then. And next item on the agenda is the
Stan?
Go ahead, Nancy.
We need to also have a vote on the single-use plastic bag ordinance draft.
I don't think we need to take action on that. And I heard from Kathy that draft ordinance is probably going to be revised some more. As I read it, I don't think it has your, whatever the suggested comment was about the reusable bags being a certain percentage of recycled material. I didn't see that in the draft. So I don't think that we should be taking action on this tonight. Is that right, Kathy?
Yeah, and to clarify, the reason why the 40% post-consumer is not on there is because the city attorney's office, which is the entity has been working on this ordinance and had a draft available for that subcommittee meeting. We are still scheduling a meeting to go over the edits that the subcommittee had in addition to our planning department. So that's the enforcement section as well. And so we are still meeting about that. I did not want to add anything to this draft ordinance that our city attorney's office did not already accept or approve as part of the draft.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Thanks for the clarification.
And then I guess I do have a question about that. Is where did that 40% suggestion that the reusable bags have to be 40% recycled material? Where did that come from? Where does that 40% number? Because I don't think we've ever had any testimony on that, or I had not heard about that until this evening. The 40%, and I don't know. Is that something that are bags readily available with 40% post-consumer products in them, Nancy?
Yes. And so I took that from several other ordinances that have been passed around in different cities and states in the country, and those products are available. And so I pulled it from there. And so this is what I wanted to have a discussion on in this group, to see if that was something that the group would, the SAB would approve or not. It was something that would help to reduce the increased plastic use that can happen after banning bags, as you had brought up, Stan. So that's why I brought it up here. And those currently are actually used in some of the local stores for the paper bags. They are 40% recycled material already. So
I understand that with paper, but this would be for plastic bags to be 40%.
It would be the thicker plastic bags, and those are also available and currently used throughout the country.
What about like the cloth ones and fiber that are, made out of polyester and nylon and stuff like that. Are those
We're not
typically 40% recycled product?
we're not regulating those. We're just regulating the plastic, not the cloth. We don't
I
have
thought
any
you wanted the
reference to cloth.
40% for reusable bags as well. Is that not correct?
That's not correct. That's
So I think it's going to be really
for the-
important how that language is drafted then, because I was under the impression that this would be a requirement under the definition of reusable bag.
It would
No?
be reusable plastic and reusable paper bags. It doesn't say reusable cloth bags have to have.
Well, reusable bag is defined as a bag made of cloth, fiber, plastic, or other material.
But the language that I added just says 40% recycled for paper bags or for plastic bags.
Okay, well, I guess we'll have to wait and see the language.
This is Ben Sykes. I just want to, while we're on the plastic bag, I know we don't have this on the agenda.
Microphone.
Oh, sorry. There we go. I just wanted to recognize for a minute, we did get a late addition of an email from
Lawrence.
seventh graders. Yeah. Who
Yeah, Lawrence.
happened to be here tonight.
Right.
Who had done some cool science research on plastic waste and done some really nice estimates of potentially the amount of plastic waste that the city is generating, what proportion of that is recycled, which looks like it comes out to about 10%, and where most of that is ending up, as well as opinions on what might be done about it. And if anybody knows about this ordinance, despite our efforts to spread the word across the city. So they're here, and I just wanted to recognize them for a minute, just so that they could tell us maybe a little bit about what they did and what they've learned. I think now's a good opportunity.
I'd be okay with that and hearing from Lawrence. If Nancy, are you okay with that?
That'd be great.
Okay. Well, then we'll do that. I think that's a great segue. Lawrence, welcome to our meeting. Would you like to tell us about the study that you did and the results that you found? I think we'd all like to hear about it.
Thank you for having me today at your meeting. My name is Lawrence Dow, a seventh grader at Lawrence Virtual School. For the past few months, my friend Ian Practon, who's attending this meeting as well, and I have been working on a science project on how to measure plastic waste in Lawrence. Today, I would like to share some findings from our research. We hope the findings can be helpful for you in some way. First, we estimate that the city of Lawrence generates about 51,240 tons of plastic waste per year and recycles about 4,458 tons of plastic waste annually. The amount of plastic waste that ends up in landfills is around 38,942 tons per year. Around 76% of plastic waste ends up in landfills. We also conduct a survey to understand how people in the community perceive the single-use plastic issue. Based on our survey results, 97.3% of our respondents have not heard of Ordinance number 9810. When asked about which policy measure they supported, 54.1% of respondents supported a community-wide educational campaign to reduce single-use plastic bags. Thank you for having me. Any feedback?
Well, we very much appreciate you guys doing this as science and trying to figure out what are really difficult numbers to come up with. I think you guys probably found that in your research is just trying to estimate how much plastic is used is an enormous challenge. And if you or other students out there have great ideas about how we can reach people more effectively about the kinds of things like Ordinance 9810 that we can connect so we don't have 97% of the people still not knowing about it, I think we would welcome suggestions.
Ian, did you want to say a few words too? You're welcome to. You're muted. You need to unmute.
Yes, I definitely agree with it's hard to find that data publicly available. I noticed that when we were doing research, I'm from Lundesburg, so it's a much smaller town, but it's also very hard to find data on how much waste is generated by our cities. So I think just sort of having that data publicly available would really help, especially if there are other people out there who are trying to do things similar to what we're doing. So.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Did anybody have questions for Lawrence or Ian?
We will spread the word around the school and tell our people, well, students in our schools and their parents.
That would be great.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Before I don't know that we're quite done talking about the plastic bag ordinance. If you get a chance, Nancy, I would love to hear if you could reach out to the Merck or maybe Checkers. I think they were responsive. Dillon's. I know we had some contact there and previous testimony from Dillon's. I think we had just had a written letter from Checkers. We had testimony from 2 people at the Merck, and make sure they're comfortable with that 40% requirement. I'd like to give them an opportunity to weigh in on that. If we're going to be making a recommendation that way on defining characteristics for the reusable bags.
Okay, we'll work on that at our next subcommittee meeting.
Awesome. Thank you.
Maddie Bell, SAB member. So this may be like reaching too far, but if dictating something like 40% recycled materials for plastic bags is on the table, it's really hard to recycle plastic. And so if it could be like, I would love to see like 40% bioplastic is used or something like that, which I recognize maybe the products aren't there, but like maybe it's the moving towards that or something, just because fossil, like oil plastic is really, really difficult to recycle.
There are bags that have 40% recycled content available. And so I think that's better than having fully virgin plastic in the reusable bags. If we're going to have the reusable bags available anyway, those bio bags are really hard to get a hold of, and they're not as sturdy for carrying things. So I think there's lots of issues there, Maddie. I wish we could just ban plastic bags completely, but yeah.
Kay, did you want to add to that?
Yes, when I was in San Francisco in November, I did get a plastic bag that's one of those thicker ones from a vendor, a retail outlet. It was Walgreens. And their statement also said this particular bag is 40% post-consumer recyclable. So I think that is pretty much average on states and communities that are going to the thicker bag. And it also says that you can use these many more times than once. I don't know how many they claim to be able to be used, but I've started collecting bags to see what they say. And several of the thicker bags from the communities that have single-use plastic bag bans have these type of bags that say 40%.
Yeah, I think I saved mine from a trip to San Diego for work almost 2 years ago. I'll have to see if I can find it. I think it's in my office, and I'll look and see if it's got the same thing on there. I bet it does. That's good to know. Any other discussion on the bags at this time? I guess we're going to be waiting on seeing the draft ordinance from the city, and it sounds like in order to make sure that we have the right people there for the city commission meeting, it may be May now before we're prepared to do that.
We can place it on the April meeting agenda if you'd like.
Yeah, I think we definitely want to have it on next month's meeting agenda. I think we need to have it on the agenda until it goes before city commission.
Yeah.
All right. Are there any other subcommittees that we need to hear an update from at this point? I'm not. Ben?
Just last, this is Ben Sykes, SAB board member. Last meeting, I brought up the composting policy with Douglas County Food Policy, which I'm the SAB rep on. And Kathy and I are going to have a discussion about that. There's been some back and forth with Douglas County Sustainability Office about a presentation from them and maybe an action item downstream that we might be able to contribute to.
Okay. All right, with that, I'm going to move on to the next item on the agenda that we haven't covered, and that is Earth Day. Kathy, do you have some updates for us on some Earth Day activities?
Yes. So the last month I had reported that several organizations were already starting to schedule their activities around Earth Day, and the city will be a partner in many of those activities. One of the activities that's bringing a lot of folks together is an Earth Day fair at South Park on Saturday, April 22nd. We are partners in this, but the lead on this event is the Watkins History Museum, or Watkins Museum of History. And they have, it's going to be in the afternoon from 1 to 3. They're going to have tables at South Park. Each organization is being asked to provide, some activity for kiddos and the whole family, and not just an info table distributing 300 pieces of paper. So it's more activities, hands-on activities that will be happening at South Park. There are quite a few organizations that have signed up, like KU Environs, Friends of Oak Hill, Friends of Hidden Valley, Kansas Land Trust, Douglas County Conservation District, Master Gardeners, the Lawrence Public Library, the City of Lawrence Environment and Sustainability, Douglas County Sustainability, Sierra Club, Sustainability Action Network, and Jayhawk Audubon Society. Also, I know Cancer for the Community is going to be out there. So we're just getting the word out. And like I said, the Watkins Museum of History has been organizing with those organizations for the South Park activities. We still have not fully updated our website, but we did put a notice in our city's Flame newsletter. The City Flame newsletter on Earth Day activities that are coming up. In terms of the proclamation, it will be on April 18th when we would submit the proclamation to the City Commission. As I mentioned to you all, I'm happy to draft the proclamation, and then at the April meeting, if you'd like to review it. I don't know if it needs a full approval from the Sustainability Advisory Board. I'm going to show you one that we completed 2 years ago. This was, let me make sure you can see it. Can you see the proclamation, those on Zoom? Okay, perfect. This proclamation was the one that ran for 2021, and I'm working on updating this. If the Sustainability Advisory Board would like to have some involvement, certainly there could be a SAB member that is at the podium with staff, or if you want to take lead on this, this is great too. But just wanted to give you an example of the one that was done a couple of years ago.
Hey, Kathy, I have a suggestion. I would like to somehow reach out to businesses and to get business involvement, and whether or not they participate in the Earth Day activities. Perhaps there's a way. A lot of organizations that I'm involved with, they have a place to register their own activities, whether it's public or just private. Our company is actually working on our Earth Day activities. What we're going to do, we're going to have a lunch and learn, but I would imagine then there's quite a few other businesses that do the same thing, and in other communities where I've worked, we have involved businesses in that way, not necessarily to invite them to have public activities at their facilities, but that they're making a commitment to do it on their own facilities with their own staff. And I think it's time for us to start including the businesses in some way, because I think there's quite a few businesses that already do this kind of thing.
Any thoughts from others on what Kay shared or other feedback? Nancy?
So I think it's a great idea that Kay brought up. And I'd also like to suggest that the 1 to 3 time at South Park is pretty short. And I'm wondering if it couldn't be extended a little bit longer. It seems like a whole lot of people going through a whole lot of trouble to set up the tabling and activities for such a short time in the afternoon.
Appreciate that feedback. I do understand from the organizations, some of them that are going to table in the afternoon have activities running in the morning at their locations. Also, Friends of the Caw has a river cleanup and so forth. So the idea was a short event at South Park that allows people to participate in all the activities throughout the day and then just come to South Park kind of as the last bit of celebration.
But I was just suggesting that 3 o'clock is kind of an early time to end the activities, not to start earlier.
I can definitely pass on the feedback to the organizers, and you're more than welcome also to email Will. I know you've been in contact with him.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
I hope that that we try to have a visual presence there of SAB members. My plan is to participate in the Caw River cleanup with the Friends of the Caw, and I know the one last fall was an 8 to 2 time frame on the cleanup. I don't know how long this one is going to be this year, if they have a time. It's not on their website yet, so I don't know the exact schedule yet. I put 8 to noon in my calendar, hoping that I could make it to the Earth Day Fair.
Mighty Bell SAB member, Kathy, is there somewhere to see the list of organizations who are like set up for the fair or have their own thing going on, like the Caw River cleanup?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for that question. So the City of Lawrence has a webpage that is back. Yes, it ends. I think it's City of Lawrence with the Earth Day at the end /Earth Day. And currently it has the 2022 activities listed. So you'll see the Friends of the Caw River cleanup from last year and so forth. And so the reason why it's not fully updated right now for 2023 is because a lot of these organizations are still working through the details of their events. So as soon as we have all that information, we might be updating, let's say 4 or 5 that we have the information on, and then add as we go on, getting closer to Earth Day. But the Watkins Museum of History provided me earlier this week that list that I just kind of read off. So our hope is to include all of those on our webpage. And we can do this, even links to their web pages, because we've done this in the past, for people to find even more information if they're not able to attend the South Park event. But again, lots of the details are still being worked on. I heard as of like yesterday that they're trying to get a food vendor down at South Park as well, since some of those participating thought that that would make it feel like a more of a festival or celebration. Although, like Nancy said, it's a short period of time. So finding a food vendor that's okay with 2 hours, unless they extend it to 3 or 4 hours. But yeah, as all those details come about, I will share the webpage with all those activities listed. And if you know of any activities that I don't have on that webpage, just let me know and I will add them.
Thank you. And is there anything stopping organization from staying longer than the 3 o'clock deadline or setting up earlier? I guess maybe that's something to ask the Watkins Museum of History, but do you know? Because it could be an informal extension of the time if an official one doesn't work out.
Yeah, that's a good question as well. So being part of the organizer in the past, the organizer is really responsible for the cleanup of the park. So when you reserve the park, which there was a reservation for this event, there were no fees because the city's sponsoring this event. So the organizer is responsible to make sure all the trash is picked up, all the tables and chairs and that type of stuff. So maybe there might be an extension of it if all supplies are still able to be put away, and maybe some people have just personal chairs and tables. Obviously, you can be at the park and talk to folks. But I do know that there is a responsibility of making sure that the park is cleaned after all the people come through. And it makes it challenging if half of the tables still stay and the organizer can't fully, fulfill their duty.
Great, thank you.
Any more Earth Day discussion? All right, let's go on to the next agenda item, and that's facility tours. Kathy and I have talked about trying to set up a tour for us, either at the city's recycling facility or the hazardous waste recycling facility or something. Have you had any movement on that? I know we wanted to talk about potential date and times for that.
Yes, so city staff is able to host tours of the facilities that were listed on the city side, HHW, compost, water treatment, and so forth. And some of these facilities, because they are in the same area, can happen. Like can be a tour of 2 of those facilities that are side by side, and so forth. All I really need from you all, and why this item is on the agenda, is what time of the day is good for SAB members to attend.
Morning or afternoon? Is that the type of what you're looking for? Kind of a morning or afternoon? What's preferable? Or do you want it more precise?
Over the lunch hour? Are you good with an hour tour, or is 2 hours okay? So we can get more done in one,
I think it would kind of be dependent upon the location, what that, I could see an hour being plenty of time at the hazardous waste recycling facility, but maybe you would need 2 hours if you were going to go to the water treatment plant and sewer treatment or something like that. So.
Yeah, this has been Psych SAB board member. I think if we're going to hang out in the sewer, we need to do it for a longer. I guess, Kathy, just to your question about what time of day, we're talking about when people are working at these facilities. We're not talking about we could do this on a Saturday, or we're talking about like a 9 to 5 slot kind of thing, right? Just making sure, because some of us have, more challenges with that than others. job.
That is correct. It would be between the 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday,
Okay.
not on a holiday.
Thanks.
Well, I think in that case, it probably depends on what day of the week it is for some of us. So,
Well, maybe what Kathy and I'll do is propose some possible dates and times, and we'll just see if who raises their hand and says they're available to participate. And we'll, we've not done this before, so we'll see how it goes and try to work our way into it. Is that okay?
You can send out a doodle poll. Or
I was just
some
going to
sort of-
ask, can we do doodle polls, or is that an open records challenge?
I don't know.
Or when is meet, just to be equitable that there are lots of softwares for doing this?
I don't know if that's an open records issue or not with the doodle poll, but
I think it's okay.
and then on future agenda items, I don't think we need to do anything on the SAB subcommittees, but I would like you, Kathy, to update us on it, potentially having a city commissioner attend an upcoming meeting.
can I
Sure.
just mention we skipped a thing back up on number 3?
Back up to what? We can't hear you.
3.
I'm sorry, you skipped item number 3 on the agenda.
The discussing ordinance 9744.
Yes, we didn't.
I probably did not raise it directly. Do we have any more discussion on that at this time?
I bring this up because I wanted to raise an issue here for consideration from this group. And I think that one way that we could think about addressing Ordinance 9744 for the community goal of reaching renewable electricity and energy for the community is to press for the closure of the Lawrence Energy Center coal-powered plant. And if we press for that and the city presses for that, it may get closed. That's how it was closed in Missouri recently, is municipalities pressed for it to be closed. So I just raise that as something we could talk about and consider.
In the same vein of that, I have a question on. So we get most of our electricity from coal. Those of us that are, at least the city has a contract saying that you're getting RECs or credits that are not from coal, that are from renewable energy. But most of us, the rest of us are on, you can also opt in to purchase renewable energy. But when we're doing our emission goals and calculations, how is the climate action group going to calculate our energy emissions when we have a coal plant here, even though we have a statement about RECs? We're still getting, our even there's a new app on our phones, on iPhones, that they won't charge if you're not getting more renewable power. I just found out about that. I turned the thing off because my phone wasn't charging properly. I don't know how this happens, but we need to understand what the impact is, not only affecting our health of this coal plant, but also our renewable energy goals, because we may still have to consider using the emissions factors for a coal plant.
That's why we should could push for close.
I'd like to hear from Amanda, has her hand raised.
I can't. Oh, Amanda. Okay. I see your hand
Yeah.
raised.
Hi, Amanda, Stan, SAB. board member. I was raising my hand kind of because I was going to maybe add to this kind of a combination of ordinance 9744 and future agenda items, but after they touched on this particular topic.
I mean, you're welcome to go ahead.
You
I
want me to
think
go
at this
now?
point, it's all
Okay.
sounds relevant to me.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't related to the coal plant, but and one of the things that I've considered that would relate to that ordinance and our goals here, I'm hoping to put on the future agenda, is the school closures that they are looking at, that they have public hearings coming up on the 25th of this month. And one of the things that the superintendent said was additional possible solutions to save the money that they are looking to save is renewable energies and solar and things along that line. And so I think that it's probably too late for us as a board to speak out in opposition of any school closures, even though it does go against our goal of strong, welcoming neighborhoods. I think as individuals, we could reach out because public comments are still being taken. But as a future agenda item, maybe looking to assist USD 497 in achieving some of those goals. So that way they don't have to look at going to 4 days a week and hopefully not closing schools at this time. But that was just something that kind of tied into what we did. And it's part of the reason I'm on this board, because I have children and a future and I'm very invested in the community.
Amanda, thank you. Kay has her hand raised.
Yes, and in response to what Amanda was saying, one of my son's teachers in Mays worked very hard to get a solar array at the high school at Mays near Wichita. And they have, I think it was in a year and a half, they saved the school $100,000. I don't know how much they have saved since, but they have also presented the school with a check for $250,000 so the business sponsors a school. And schools don't get credits because they don't pay taxes like businesses do. But there's a pass-through if a business wants to purchase the credits, purchase the solar array, then they lease back the solar to the school system. And it is extremely lucrative for the Mays school system to have that. And they, like I said, they're adding a second solar array just starting this year. I don't know when they actually will break construction on it, but it's a fantastic learning tool for them as well as significant operating cost savings.
I'd say that thanks to the Inflation Reduction Act, that nonprofits and tax exempt entities such as schools can take advantage of the tax credit now, that 30% tax credit, and that there are financial institutions that can lease solar to schools as well, giving them the advantage of tax appreciation because technically the bank owns the system and then is leasing it. So there are different avenues that we can take a look at to help the school accomplish those goals. I hope that it is in time to save schools so we can continue to boast our strong, welcoming neighborhoods that I don't think that closures support. But yes, I would like to put this on future agenda items and then encourage anybody as individuals to also reach out to the school board or attend the public hearing.
So, Amanda, I'm curious, in a state like Kansas, where we're a regulated utility state, I'm hearing you say that a private company could lease solar panels to, say, a school, and that would be okay under our regulated utilities laws? That's not considered a retail sale of electricity?
It is acceptable.
So what? Yeah, what you're going for on House Bill, is it the 22 2.7 is the power purchase agreement, which allows a private person to act as a utility and to charge for the kilowatt hour used, which is very clean and straightforward. Solar service agreements are currently legal, but you have to have like a flat rate charge. It's not a one-for-one savings. You have to be very careful with that language. But leasing it, again, schools lease a lot of equipment. So a solar system shouldn't be all that different from it, and might make it easier to obtain than finding the money within the school system or taxpayers' dollars to pay for it, or to have somebody generously donate or some PTO raise the funds.
I did not know that.
Options.
That is really good to know. Okay, thank you.
And Mays has a strong history with the school system at Mays. There's quite a few articles, Stan. I'll be glad to send them to you about the success that they've had at Mays.
Yeah,
I would love those too. I've actually spoken to a mother who started a committee for such things, and she's actually, I think, speaking to your friend over there.
Oh, cool.
Seems viable too. And thinking about how the school budget, engaging the school board or other people too on how they may have money in capital projects, but not for general funds, might play out in how they might be able to lease, or they might want to put in their own system or something.
Yeah.
So I think putting down a future agenda item and having some discussions about that sounds like it makes a lot of sense.
Agreed. Kay, could you send the link to those articles to Kathy so that she could share them with everybody?
I'd be glad to. And
Thank you.
Stan Bergkamp is the physics teacher that got all of the solar arrays possible. He is always great to talk to groups. I'm sure we could schedule him for a meeting some Wednesday that we're having our regular meeting. He loves to tell about the program.
Great. All right. Any other discussion on 9744? I think it's good. Nancy, thank you for redirecting us back here. That was my error for just glossing over that, because we had kind of mentioned it in the plastic bag ordinance and I just went on by it. But I have asked Kathy to continue to put this on the agenda, because this was the primary thing that when we went through our strategic planning meeting in December, this was our number one item that we wanted to focus on. And so it's going to be a regularly occurring item on our agenda. And so checking in with it and discussing it and having topical discussions about it, I think are all going to be important. Okay.
I have one other item to add relative to Nancy's first comment about supporting closing of the coal plant, is that Evergy first initially committed to closing the coal plant in 2023. They have since decided not to. And I think that it's important to note that they already had discussed that situation. So it's not out of the realm of asking them to do that.
Yeah, I think that maybe the snowmageddon down in Texas has caused some utilities to rethink what they're going to close or not close, and there may be movement on that here in the future. But I want to make sure that we have time for public comment, so I'm going to ask Kathy to quickly tell us about City Commission visitor, and then I want to open it up for public comment.
Sure, really quick. So the first guest would be the mayor, and an invitation was sent to the mayor for the April meeting with May being the alternate if the April date does not work. We have not yet heard confirmation, but as soon as we do, just so you know, it might be April or May. And then every other month will be, another commissioner. So we'll get those all scheduled throughout the year.
Great. Thank you for doing that. I think it's important for us to, stay connected with the city commission. We are their advisory board, and I think it's good for us to be inviting them to one of our meetings. It builds a relationship between the commissioners and our board. All right. With that, I'm going to ask if we have public comment. We've got 2 people here in the audience. We have, it looks like 2 people online. I don't know if anybody has any public comment about what we've discussed or suggestions for what we should discuss in the future. I'll open it up to the folks here first. Nope. Okay. How about online? It looks like JT Thornburg is raising his hand.
Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay. I realize none of you know me except maybe Ben, and he doesn't know me well, but I got his autograph on his important book. I have an extensive background going back to '85 in environmental issues, including household hazardous waste disposal. When you line up tours, I would suggest that you go there first. There's going to be more there than you imagine. For example, if you thought you needed a household hazardous waste product and we're about to go purchase it, you could go out there instead and maybe get it for free off their shelves. The other thing is, again, I realize you don't know me. Others do, because I'm a cyclist and I've been actually an unsuccessful advocate for several years on particular bicycle issues. I noticed that you went past item 2 on the agenda, and I know Stan is on the BSCS, which is the what Michael Allman calls the Board of Boards. I think that's very a critical matter that I'm very concerned about. And if Stan has got something to say, I'm all ears. Thank you.
So I was out of the country for the last meeting, and I just got back this weekend. I started watching the board meeting from when I was away, but I haven't gotten, but I don't even think I'm an hour into the 3-hour meeting yet. So I was not able to provide an update this week on what's transpired since our last meeting. I can tell you based on the agenda that the one thing I would encourage you to look at on there was only 2 items attached to the agenda, and the most important one is what are they calling it? It's like the standard of operation or operation guidelines. And what it looks to me like is being proposed is kind of a 2-tiered system where you have policy boards and then more informative boards. So you would have a policy board that has some real authority to make decisions and make policy for the city that then would be blessed by the city commission. And then the other types of boards would be more boards that the city manager could call upon and create on an ad hoc basis as needed. And they would be more informative to help inform the city on decision making. I've not seen the whole discussion yet, but that's the way it seems to be shaping up to me on the part that I've watched so far. So I would say take a look at that attachment to the meeting agenda from, I think it was the 1st of March, was when the meeting was. So if you want to know more, I would say take a look at that. JT?
May I make a further comment?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Please.
I'm following that very closely, and I know all about that issue. I would just call to your attention that there is no public comment in what they're doing until they come up with recommendations, and there will be only one opportunity. And I see some real trouble for a number of basically culture change boards, and that would include yourself. It's going to be interesting to see how they bucket you. They're going to focus in the next meeting on putting committees bodies that might go together and be blended. But at the first try, I don't think they were able to put you in a bucket, which may be a real good thing. I'll shut up now.
JT, I appreciate that comment about the no public comment, and I will make sure to raise that at our next meeting and maybe suggest to him that perhaps we shouldn't be waiting until the end to receive public comment. And I know the meetings are open to the public. We've had one person from the public that I'm aware of actually sit in the meeting, and that was only for a while.
Right.
And we get very few people participating via Zoom.
And that's another big concern. I'd like to shut up, but good luck with it. I don't think you'll get anywhere with it because they've given themselves a 4-month turnaround, and there are going to be some major consequences from this thing that I don't see as being real good. I'm going to shut up. I'm turning my mic off.
Yeah, the next meeting scheduled for that Board of Boards is on 29 March, Wednesday, 29 March.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, sir.
Any additional public comment? Don, I see you there. I don't know if you had comment for us.
Yeah, I was hoping to just say something after the staff report. I don't remember exactly, and there was something that I just wanted to thank Kathy for her work and preparation. Some of the things that she prepares for the board, it's aces and takes a lot of work off of the board. I'm very grateful that the city and the board and this board are taking seriously these state legislation home rule fiasco bills. I can't remember the one that someone was talking about that was about products and services, more sort of generic. But that if something like that passed, there would be no way that the city of Lawrence would be able to comply with the ordinance related to sustainable energy. Because that would mean that you could never say no to the gas company. Not that that's what we want for perhaps a long time to come. But anyway, so it's very important, and I'm glad that that you guys are taking those bills seriously and attending hearings, and so thank you for your time there. And since there's actually 5 minutes left, I'll just say a couple more things since I'm squishing this all into one. The agenda does state that public comment is allowed after each agenda item, and you're limited to 3 minutes and whatnot. You guys are so limited with time already, but anyway, so it Stan, it would be nice to. I think you guys are good about it before going to a vote, but I really appreciate being able to comment after staff report. It's a great opportunity to ask questions of Kathy, and I just learned so much from those reports. And anyway, so also I would like to see subcommittee meeting information on the website, like maybe at least list the chair and the meeting dates and times. I've participated in subcommittees for SAB, in the past, and I think it's a really great way for the board to delegate the preparation work for these meetings and involve more people and educate the public all at the same time. But it's kind of hard to know. I mean, it might be, for example, a way for Deb Ford to still participate, but not have the responsibilities of being on the board, and Maddie too, and me. But so I wanted to state that Kathy needs more support for maintenance of the website for these kinds of things, for doing public surveys, for keeping events up to date and such. That shouldn't fall all to her, and I hope that she can get the support in the city with city staff for those. That's very vital for the work of this board. And then lastly, I just have said this before, but I wish the Sustainable Advisory Board would consider moving your meetings to a night that's not the county commission night. I know it's hard to figure out, there's important meetings every night. But it just always also seems that you're cut short by other meetings. So surely there's a more workable time slot. Just something to maybe talk about at a future meeting or something. That's all. Thank you.
I did not know that we were competing with the county commission. That's a real good comment there. So something we could talk about.
They could take us. I mean, we've got numbers on them, but
Sorry, I forgot I think they could take us.
Yeah.
I mean,
they got a bigger budget than we do.
Yeah.
All right. So Kathy and I are going to be putting together the agenda here probably in the next week or so for our next meeting. We will make sure to have Earth Day stuff on there, update on the legislation. We'll include the bag ordinance, assuming it's available, the Earth Day proclamation, Ordinance 9744. If we think we have time, I'd like Dawn's suggestion that we give the public an opportunity for a few minutes to engage with question and comment after the staff report. I think that's a reasonable request and makes a lot of sense to me, instead of making everybody wait until the very end. But it'll kind of be dependent on how much time we think we have. And if we end up with the mayor attending the meeting, we're probably going to be time limited, because I suspect the mayor will have some comments and we may want to have some question and answer time there. So that may really constrict how much time we have for other items, but we'll do our best. Kay, go ahead, Kay.
I just wanted to add, I think because we should at least have a standing situation where we're hearing about the climate change plan. I mean, it seems like Douglas County has now the responsibility, and I don't feel like we're a part of it. That's just me, but I still don't know on a regular basis what's going on as far as the climate change plan.
I can provide an update from the staff perspective on the climate action plan. I do know that Nancy is the SAB rep on the climate action plan steering committee, and I believe you are scheduled to meet next Friday. Not this Friday, but next Friday.
We haven't got notification for it at all.
Yeah.
So we haven't met for, I think it's been canceled for the last, 3 or 4 months, Kathy?
I thought there was a meeting in December, so January and February were canceled.
I don't think there was one in December either.
Okay.
And it really just follows with my point. I know that Nancy would provide a report if she had information, but we're not getting information, I don't believe.
All right. We're about at our stopping time. I want to remind everybody that due to our numbers, we need to have everybody attend next month. I will be attending virtually. I will be, where am I going to be in April? In Arkansas. I'll be either at Pine Bluff or in Little Rock that Wednesday night. I can't remember, but I'll be.
Do you get
attending via
reception in
Zoom.
Pine Bluff?
Yeah, I'll be attending via Zoom, and I'll try to run the meeting via Zoom, but maybe I'll have to rely on you to kind of run the meeting.
Okay.
Um,
Sorry, I don't know the date offhand. I know it's a Wednesday.
And for us remaining board members, if you find out that you're not going to be able to make it, please let everybody know, or let Kathy know, not everybody, but let Kathy know. And we'll figure out then if we need to schedule a special meeting where we can get everybody together. Otherwise, we won't have a quorum. All right. With that, I think we can go ahead and adjourn our meeting. All those in favor of adjournment, say aye.
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 Hi.
Thank you, Maddie.
Thank you, Maddie.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Maddie.
And thanks, Dan.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks, Dan.
Appreciate it.
Bye.
Hi, Maddie.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Kat.